My wife abandoned our family to join a no relationships allowed cult with her friends, and years later, she came back expecting to be welcomed with open arms.
Part 2.
Given that she was married with 2 kids at that point. But Richard's cousin had bragged to him and a couple of other family members that they'd managed to convert a woman into believing that she didn't need to stay with her husband and kids, that she apparently needed to shed this dead weight so she could move on and do better in life. And that's what she'd done by divorcing her husband and giving up custody of her kids so she could finally fully commit to their ideology. She'd been bragging about the success of their group and how they'd managed to turn someone into one of them, which meant that there was definitely something powerful and compelling about their beliefs. So Richard, out of curiosity, asked his cousin what this woman looked like because he wanted to know what kind of woman would just abandon her family because of what her new friends said, especially a married woman with 2 kids. Then, when his cousin pointed to Amanda in a group photo they'd taken, he put 2 and 2 together and texted me about it as soon as he left the event. This had all taken place at a family gathering of his, and once that was done, he immediately asked if I was willing to meet him. Thankfully, I'd said yes, so he rushed over to my apartment and spilled the beans on what had happened with Amanda. To say I was furious would be an understatement when I learned the real reason behind my wife's decision to leave. She'd done this to fit into some stupid group and to be seen as a person who was brave and adventurous and all that. She'd left her husband and kids behind for something like that. When I learned the real reason behind her ridiculous behavior, I honestly felt like I would have been happier if she had just slept with another man. At least it would have been a more respectable reason to end our marriage and abandon her children, but this just didn't cut it. I wanted to call her and curse her out but didn't because after learning the real reason for her departure, I was convinced that she was just crazy. There were no 2 ways about it, and there was also no point in hoping that maybe saying or doing something would make her change her mind. It wouldn't, and I knew that now. So I just decided to make the best of my circumstances and raise my daughters to be better women than their mother had been. I also worked harder at my own job and made sure they never felt abandoned. I hired a nanny and started working twice as hard at the office, so I wouldn't have to bring the office home with me. And as soon as I'd come back home, all my time would be spent with my daughters. My parents helped out a lot, and occasionally even my in-laws tried to help, but kept it to a minimum, probably out of shame for what their daughter had done. They were the ones who were paying the child support installments every month, and I knew it because from what I'd heard, Amanda was busy blowing all her money on trips to exotic locations at high-end hotels. Now that she had no family to think of, she could spend all her money on crap like that, and nobody would bat an eye. I raised my kids to the best of my abilities, and now I have 2 sweet, obedient, and adorable little girls who love me and each other. We're all the family we need, and I've pretty much pushed my marriage out of my mind altogether because that was just annoying to think of. I've also paid my dues at work, so now I'm in a great position and earn double the amount I used to before. I've been doing great for the last 2 years, and I didn't think that I had anything to worry about anymore. Until last week, when Amanda finally showed up after almost 3 years of being completely AWOL. My kids and I were at home since it was a Sunday. We have enough money to buy our own house now, but I've stayed in the same apartment since I really love this place, and it's convenient for the commute to work as well. Clearly, I should have moved because, unfortunately, since I'd remained in the same place, Amanda knew where to find me. She just showed up at our door randomly that day, and I think it must have knocked the wind out of me to see her after almost 3 years. Neither of us said anything for the first couple of seconds, but I took in her appearance, the crazy big bouquet of red roses she was holding, and the way she was smiling with tears in her eyes. Call me heartless, but I didn't feel moved or emotional. I just felt pure hatred for her, and before she could say anything, I slammed the door shut with such force that I swear I felt the floorboard shake. I told my kids to go inside because I knew she was going to try and convince me of something or the other, and I wasn't going to keep it at peace. All the hatred, hurt, and anger were bubbling up, and I didn't want my kids to see whatever ugly fight was about to happen next. Sure enough, as soon as I told my kids to leave, Amanda started whining about how this wasn't the welcome back that she'd been expecting. I could hear that she was trying hard not to cry, but really, all that did was just aggravate me even more. She was the one who'd put me through all this crap for years, and now she had the audacity to cry and act like the victim. She then went on to tell me that she'd come back to apologize and to say that she was sorry for all that she'd done in the past, but now she just wanted her old life back. I was shocked, but I let her go on because a part of me wanted to hear this apology or whatever it was supposed to be because it had been 3 years, and I'd never had any sort of closure. I'd put it out of my mind, but seeing her again had brought it all back. And I guess in some sick way, I was really relishing the opportunity to show her her place. Just so she would know that we were all better off without her, and nobody missed her in her absence. She went on for a couple of minutes about how she'd had her fun in these past couple of years, but at the end of the day, she'd just feel empty because she had nobody to come home to except for empty hotel rooms. She confessed that she'd been feeling like she was missing something for the last couple of months, and she'd finally made the very difficult decision of coming back and apologizing now so she could finally make amends. Apparently, the high of traveling and exploring life with her new group of friends had worn off after the first few months, but she continued to stick to that lifestyle because she was too afraid to come back. She felt like since she'd sacrificed a lot for that life, she had to fully commit to it, but now she couldn't imagine going back and just wanted her old life back. The more she talked, the more I felt like opening the door and punching her in her stupid face as hard as I could. I couldn't tolerate any more of her BS, so I told her to just leave us alone and that I didn't want to see her or talk to her at the moment. But Amanda, being Amanda, believed that she could change my mind by continuing to ramble on, standing outside the door and begging me to come back to her. After a point, It started getting on my nerves, and I also had to bring the kids out of their rooms so I could serve them dinner. So I just hit the door and yelled out that we're not her family anymore, so she needed to go away now. I think that took her in shock because after that, I didn't hear her anymore. As soon as I'd given the kids their dinner, I called my attorney and told him everything that had happened just to be on the safe side. Then I called my parents and told them about Amanda's visit, whatever she had said, and then what I'd said. They reassured me that I'd done the right thing given the circumstances and that I had nothing to worry about. I didn't call my in-laws because I didn't know what to say to them about any of this, and I'm sure they'd find out later from their daughter anyway. But as soon as I was done with those calls, I received a call from Richard, and since he'd been the one to inform me about the real reason why Amanda had left all those years ago, I answered the call because I had a feeling he'd tell me something about Amanda, and I was right. Since as soon as I answered the call, he asked me if Amanda had come around. And when I said yes, he told me that his cousin had called him up to inform him why. Richard and I are really close friends and have always been, even apart from the situation with Amanda where he's been a major source of information for me regarding her, thanks to his cousin. After he'd told me about whatever his cousin had told him all those years ago, he told his cousin that if there was anything he found out about Amanda, he was supposed to come straight to him since I was the one she'd screwed over. When his cousin found out about me, I guess he stopped feeling very proud of himself about converting Amanda, but I don't blame him. I blame Amanda for being so easy to influence. His cousin had promised us that he'd keep us updated on her and had even reached out to apologize to me one time after he learned about me. I'd forgiven him since I never had anything against the guy, but we're not friends or anything. She'd tell Richard what Amanda was up to, which is how I knew what she'd been up to since she blocked me after the divorce. And so now, Richard's cousin had contacted him to tell him the truth about why exactly Amanda had returned.